the comments. We good?
Yeah, we good. I can't see myself, but I see you.
Oh, okay. I can see you. Everything looks good.
Okay, because the send the request thing is like still on my screen for some reason.
Okay. Hopefully it'll work itself out. As long as you can see me and I can see you.
Right.
Appreciate you for joining me on this Thursday.
No
You,
doubt, man. Thanks
you
for having me, brother.
absolutely, man. Been a big fan since way back in the day, so it's an honor to be able to talk to you and get a little history lesson and catch everybody up on what you're currently working on. Like I said, this is episode 138. I'm with the legendary FT of Streetsmartz. Like I said, thank you for joining me. For everybody who may have never known, or for people who may have forgot, can you take us back to where you were born and raised?
Oh, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, East New York, Brooklyn. You know, I lived there till I was 13. Then when I was 13, my moms and pops, we moved to South Side Jamaica, Queens. You know, and that's where I really started developing my style as an MC. Word.
Gotcha. Can you take us back to a day in the life of growing up in Queens as a teenager? What was FT into, and what was these teenage years like?
Man, it was exciting, man. I ate, slept, breathed, and shit at hip hop. You know what I mean? That's that was my life. You know what I mean? I would just write rhymes every day, freestyle. Smoke weed, drink 40s. Do anything to like get some studio time because back then, we didn't have all these Pro Tools and all the things like that. You know,
Right.
and we just had to find our way. Any studio time I could get, any feature, we was just hungry for hip hop. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in the neighborhood I came from in South Jamaica, it was a lot of talent. They got Onyx, Lost Boys, 50 Cent, um, Streetsmartz. You know what I mean? A lot of dope artists was from that area. You know what I mean, in that hood, and that helped me develop my style too, because there was a lot of talent, a lot of competition. You know what I mean? A lot of freestyling, a lot of ciphers. You feel me?
Right.
You had to be on your A game. And I used to take things like I was so deep into my art that if I didn't get a certain reaction from my art, I would really I'll take it personal. Like, yo,
Right.
go home and write more. You feel me?
Right.
There's a
Uh,
lot of hungry times.
what kind of obstacles before music would you say you had to face growing up in a place like Queens?
Oh man, definitely peer pressure. You know what I mean? Definitely, drugs. Definitely crooked police. You know what I mean? Definitely, you got to be careful with women. Certain things you do. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely it was. I definitely had to try to stay out of trouble. You know what I mean?
Right.
Definitely, it was kind of rough. I ain't gonna front. You know what I mean?
No doubt. No doubt. Before getting into music, you mentioned people like Onyx and Lost Boys being from the hood. Who were you particularly listening to? Who were some of your influences before you got into rap? Who were you listening to?
Oh, of course. Lord Finesse, Nas, um, Rakim, all the dope classic artists. You know what I mean? But when I really started out, Lord Finesse was like a dude that really made me want to rap. You know what I mean? He had like this contagious style, and I used to be like, yo, he's crazy. Then you had Big L, which was Lord Finesse protege, and I was like, wow, this dude is tough. He's kind of scary with it. You know what I mean? And he made me want to rhyme too, because he had them impact bars. You feel me? And then Nas was just on another lyrical level. You know what I'm saying? Like he was saying things that nobody else was saying or nobody else ever said, and it was like, wow. And then Biggie, I gotta big up Biggie. That's my favorite MC. Biggie just had that. He had the flow and he had that shock value, and he was like witty, like slick with it, funny with it. He had an ill bounce. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
say definitely a lot of Biggie too. Biggie, Nas, you know, the golden era.
Absolutely.
Word.
At what point did you started putting the pad to the pen, to the pen to the pad, and start taking your craft more serious? Give us a time frame, and what point did you realize that this is something you wanted to pursue?
I say about when I was about 13, you know what I'm saying? That had to be like 94, you know what I'm saying? 93, 94. That's when I started rapping, you know what I mean? And I was all right. It was just like anything else. When I started off, I was trash, you know what I'm saying? I thought I was dope, you know what I mean? But I was, you know, I was pretty trash, you know what I'm saying? But then, you know, moving to South Side and being around so much different talent, you know what I'm saying? Then I got to actually see that it could happen, seeing like Onyx blow up and, you know, Lost Boys and Aguilar, seeing them actually having deals from my hood and being this young kid. I'm like, wow, it can actually happen. I could do this too. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I really started really writing. I say around when I was like 13, but I really got nice when I was like 16. That's when I was like, you know what I mean? That's actually when I met Tru Criminal. Shout out to Lee Resnick from Tru Criminal. You know what I'm saying? I met him when I was around 16. I was on the independent label Tru Criminal Records. And, you know, that's when my bars had like impact. I finally had my demo, because back then you had to have a demo. My demo consisted of like songs, like features I did with people in the neighborhood or whatever the case, you know what I mean? A couple of solo joints, you know what I mean? But it was enough to grab the attention of Lee Resnick, you know what I'm saying? And get taken serious. And then that's when they signed me to Tru Criminal Records. And we dropped this single called Aint No Burner in 96.
Right.
But,
Uh, what was some of your memories of your early writing process? Did you have to have a beat? Were you just writing in the pad? What was your early writing process like?
oh yeah, well, my early writing process is kind of weird. I ain't going to front. I was doing it without the beat. You know what I mean? I would just write my lines. I would do it. I kind of still do that sometimes. I'll write a line or two, and then I say it to myself mad times, and then the next day or a day come up, I write another line or two. Because I never tried to force it, because I always wanted to say some impactful shit, and it took me time. You know what I'm saying? To I really put a lot of thought into the lyrics. That's why they sound like that. Like, it takes concentration and conversation and contemplating. Like, I put a lot of thought into that. Like, I sat at the table for like an hour or two to really just come up with them bars. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's how I used to. That was my early writing style. It was more of a military type of thing. You feel me? Now my style, you know, I'm very versatile. I'm a producer now also. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I've been doing this for so long now. So my style now it's like I'm like a chameleon when it comes to hip hop. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I
Did
could
you
rap,
have
freestyle. Like, I just did a song last night. I freestyled the whole song. You know what I mean? But I just punched it out. I didn't just, you know what I mean? Me and the engineer punched it out, and it sounds amazing. Word up.
no doubt. We can't wait to hear it. Did you have any early mentors earlier on? You talked about the demo. How did you get into producing the demo? I mean, and passing it out. And before we got to Lee Resnick, who were some of the labels that you were making your rounds to?
Well, honestly, that was the first label that really like put me in the game and showed any kind of real interest. But truth is, as far as my demo, well, I had a partner. My partner, shout out to Six Shooter, wherever you at. You know what I mean? That was my partner in Streetsmartz, him, my cousin Maz. And basically, we had a few songs together, like with little studio time we got for free. We had like probably like 2 songs. And then we had met Aguilar, you know what I'm saying? Aguilar, which was Adolf back then. He had us in the studio one day and we did a song with him, you know what I mean, that was supposed to be on his album. But it wound up not being on his album. But so I used it for my demo. You know what I mean? That's another song I had for a demo. You know what I'm saying? Then I had a couple songs with Panama P.I. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah.
Me and him did a couple songs together, and they was produced by Sticky. And we did those two songs. And yeah, I meshed all that together. That was my presentation when I went to labels on my tape. You know what I mean? I had a song called My Mind Changes. We had Live for Today. We had Come On Y'all. We had Project Window. And yeah, those was like my main 4 demo joints. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was 2 of them. Like it was mostly me and 6 Shooter doing the rapping. You know what I mean? And then when I had that tape, I would play people that tape. You know what I mean? Everywhere I go. But as far as dealing with labels on a major level, Tru Criminal, you know, once I got with them, they's an independent label. And once I started working with them, that's when they started having meetings with like Def Jam and Atlantic and, you know, all the dope labels. You know, I mean major labels at least. You know what I mean? And that's
Right.
when that came into that type mix.
So let's take it back to how the demo got into Lee's Resnick hands.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Yo, rest in peace to X1. You know what I mean? That was a close friend of mine, X1. He was a part of Onyx. You know what I mean? Sticky little brother. You know what I mean? And that was a real close friend of mine. We used to go to school, cut school together, write rhymes, and, you know what I'm saying, do shows, all kind of stuff together. You know what I mean? And around that time, back in the 90s, he was signed to Onyx. You know what I mean? Official Nas. And next thing you know, one day we hanging out, and he like, yo, F, I got somebody you may want to meet. You know what I'm saying? Tru Criminal Records. So I'm like, wow, word? He like, yeah. He was like, they want to sign me, but I'm already locked in a contract. So why don't you go up there? And at first, I was like, nah, I don't think so, because I'm gonna just ride it out, because I was working with PI a lot. You know what I'm saying? And he had a deal too. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm gonna just rock with my man. And he was like, yo, man, I think you should do that. You could do your own thing. You'll be great in your own right. You know what I'm saying? So you should go take that meeting. So I thought about it, and I went and took it, and probably was one of the best things I could have ever did. Word up.
Being a kid from Indiana at the time in the 90s, I was always confused at the name FT Streetsmartz. I thought FT Streetsmartz was the name. So can you
Okay.
break down FT and Streetsmartz to the people
Okay.
who may not know?
Nah, no doubt. It's FT started off, it was FT. Fuck that. You know what I mean? That was my name just as an artist. You know what I'm saying? But the group was Streetsmartz. You know what I'm saying? It was me, Six, and Mods. It was 3 people. You know what I mean? And bottom line is, we had recorded everything, like Metal Things, Problems, and stuff like that. And, I was the main MC on that. You know what I mean? Mods was on the hook of Problems, and Six, he had got locked up. You know what I mean? So when it came time to sign the paperwork, you know what I mean? Miles was just like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna just wait. I'm not ready yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna see what they do with y'all. You feel me? And then Six, he was having legal trouble. You know what I mean? So I said, you know what? I'm gonna sign and just rep my crew. You know what I mean? That's why it says Streetsmartz featuring Fuck That. You know what I mean? So then, as of now, FT Streetsmartz, I'm repping that now, because it's like, people know, they usually be like, oh, which FT? FT of Streetsmartz? You feel me? So I say, fuck him. I might as well put it together, you know what I mean, for now. You know what I mean?
Right.
But,
When you got over to Tru Criminal Records, what was that deal for? Was it ever to materialize an album, singles deal? What was the deal for?
well, the first few records, we just was doing vinyl, 12 inches. You know what I'm saying? Independent vinyl. And we did about 6 or 7 of those. You know what I mean? But those was like one-offs. You know what I'm saying? But then, once we started getting interest from the major labels, gaining interest from the major labels, that's when we started to do the album, album budgets and stuff like that. And basically our first situation was with Stretch Armstrong. Stretch Armstrong had a deal with Sony, had a distribution deal with Sony 550, which was distributed by Epic. Yo, give me 1 second, brother.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
Kind of hot, man. Word
No
up.
doubt.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
that was a good part to pause on, because I want to work our way up the stretch. I want to kind of go back to that first single, Aint No Burner. Was that the first release off of Tru Criminal?
The first release, well, Tru Criminal, they had another artist by the name of Ox Skills. and he had, I believe he had 2 records, 2 singles, 2
Well,
body.
I mean the first singles from you. Was that the
Streetsmartz.
first
Oh,
single?
that was my first. Ain't No Burner was my first single, but I wasn't really crazy about it because it was over that EPMD joint. And Jay-Z did the Ain't No Nigga, you know what I'm saying? But they told me, you know, they was like, yo, just to start just put it out there, you know what I mean? So we did it and it did well, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't on the radio and all that, but it sold a decent amount as far as independently, you know what I mean? But I still wanted to redeem myself. I still felt like that wasn't my main level of skill. I wanted to show people as an introduction to hip hop. So then, you know, when I got after Ain't No Burner made it the money it made, they invested again and we did Metal Things. And we did Metal Things and Problems. You know, and that single was like the single that got us a lot of recognition. Word.
Right. Would you say Ain't No Burner was the influence to so many MCs who took songs and made them their own back in the day and created such a run in the late 90s, 2000s?
I think so because if looking back, you know how 50 Cent did his mixtapes and he was just taking other people's beats and making it his song. You know what I mean? I definitely feel like I was one of the first ones to do that. You know what I'm saying? Whether it got the credit or recognition or not, but I definitely was one of the first people to do that. Take like somebody's song and make it their own. You know what I
Right.
mean? For real. And to me, yo, everybody go check that out. It's on iTunes. Streetsmartz, Ain't No Burner. That's our first record, and the lyrics is crazy. It's fire, for real.
No doubt. One person that led me to you, because I was looking for you, was Prince Poe. Can you take us back to the relationship with Organized Confusion and how Metal Things came about with Pharaoh and OC?
Yeah, that was dope. Yo, Metal Things. We did Tru Criminal wanted to on a 12-inch. They wanted to do an A side and a B side. You know what I mean? One side with me solo, and one side with some featured artists. And basically around that time, they was reaching out to different artists, and they reached out to OC and Pharaoh, and I was like, damn, that'd be dope. Let's do it. So we did that. We actually met in the studio. That's the first time I met him. What studio was that? I think we was in Unique Studios. Yeah, that's where we met, at Unique Studios in Manhattan, 47th and 7th. And then we started, you know, I met them, and then we wrote Metal Things. We recorded, produced by OG. Shout out to OG. He produced Metal Things, you know what I mean? And then from there, that's how, you know, I would see them every now and then, see them at shows or, you know, chop it up with them. Shout out to OC and Pharaoh, you know what I'm saying? As far as Prince Poe, I met Prince Poe. I had did a song with on El Sensei had a single, and it was me, Organized Confusion, Prince Poe, and Mike Zoo. And basically we did that song together, and that was the first time I met Prince Poe. And ever since then, me and my dude was just mad cool. You know what I mean? But
Right.
most recently, we've been working on a lot of music together. You know what I mean? Because I'm an engineer too. I engineer too, so I be recording a lot of music with him, and that's how I be linking up with him.
Dope.
But
Metal Things got so much burn on the mixtape scene back in the day. What kind of reaction did you get from that single? And were the labels knocking on your door around this time?
oh yeah, definitely. That's where it all really started from. I ain't even going front. That was like the record, that and Problems. That was like the record that broke me into the industry. You know what I mean? And how that, yeah, that around that time a lot of labels were showing interest, but it wasn't the right situation. You know what I mean? It wasn't, or they'll show interest and then at the very last minute be like, yo, they changed their mind or whatever. So it got to a point where I used to be like, damn, like don't call me no more unless it's going down, unless it's done already, because it's not, you know, it was disappointing at times too, dealing with labels. But I
Right.
just kept going, putting out the singles, and you know, I mean, I feel like a record I did with Alchemist called John F. Hennessy. I felt like that was the final straw. You know what I'm saying? That got me into the industry. Like, but what happened was you know, after Metal Things, we wound up getting the deal with Stretch. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? And only thing about that situation was, you know, I was on Tru Criminal, Spit Inc., Sony 550, Epic. You know what I mean? So that's 4 labels right there. So at first, I was kind of hesitant, but I'm like, damn, I got to get in the game. Like, I'm gonna just get in and try to renegotiate. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just get in and try to renegotiate the next situation. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what I did. Word. We started
So
doing. My bad, brother.
no, all good. So how does one get signed to 4 labels? What was going on, and what was the ultimate plan?
Yo, it's crazy. I love to explain it. Check it out. True Criminal, that was the label I was signed to, independent production label. You know what I'm saying? Then Stretch, he had his own production label, which was Spit Inc. You feel me? And then Sony, you know, Sony is this big, they own conglomerate. You know what I mean? Which they had Sony 550. You feel me? And then Epic is like one of the biggest labels on Sony. So it was like, you know, this big, you feel me? It's just a mixture of 1, 2, 3, 4 of these labels, like all doing business together for one artist. You know what I mean? Which is kind of screwed up for the artist at the end of the day, depending on how he negotiates. But at the same time, it's like, yo, man, with the right record or the right buzz, your whole life could still change. Just to if you could just get in that system, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes around then, not now, but back then, it was like a once in a lifetime thing. Like now, you could just get online, anybody can make a song and wake up, tell a joke, anything, and their life would change with the right energy. You know what I'm saying? At the right moment. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But back then, once in a lifetime thing. Like to get a record deal back then, it was like, oh shit, it was a big deal. Like, especially for the amounts of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? It was like, yo, especially from a kid from the hood that ain't have nothing. You like, man, I gotta get in, and it's so hard because it's so many people doing it. It was like the NBA. You feel me?
Right. Around this time, is FT touring, and what is some of his favorite lineups during this time and favorite memories of touring?
Well, around that time, I was just doing mad like shows. You know what I'm saying? Well, I did tour. I toured in Europe. You know what I mean? And that was a lot of fun, man. Shout out to Matt Fingers. You know, I toured in Europe with Ella Sensei, Matt Fingers, Craig G, a lot of different people. You know what I mean? A lot of underground artists. And I just remember being homesick sometimes, you know, when I was out in Europe and stuff like that, because you'd be so happy. You'd be like, wow, I'm in a different country off my music, straight off of hip hop. You know what I mean? It was like unbelievable. Then, but that sometimes we'd be like, yo, you know what? Damn, I'm so far from home, yo. Like if something
Right.
happens right now, nobody would know because you like, damn, I'm not in Cali. I'm not in fucking Philadelphia. I'm not in Atlanta. I'm in Europe. Like, you know, it's a whole different time zone and it took 16 hours to get here. You know what I mean? 2 layovers. So that was sometimes, you know, that's the only thing about like touring overseas back then. I remember being homesick every now and then. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Going away for like 2-week stretches. You know what I'm saying? And yo, it was mad fun. You know, meeting little kids in different countries, knowing your record, signing autographs. You know what I mean? That was dope. And then as far as touring, like in the future, you know, I got to tour with Eminem on the Anger Management tour. I think it was Anger Management 2. And I did like 5 shows on the East Coast with them, you know, and that was like amazing. I ain't going front. That was like life changing. That was like, it was very scary though. I was scared as, you know what I'm saying? But
Right. Bigger crowds.
yo, 30,000, man, 30,000, 18,000, 20,000. You feel me?
Right.
I'm out there with no hype man for Dolo. You know what I'm saying? No, my buzz wasn't even. I had an underground like buzz, but you know, Eminem is damn near like on a pop level. You know what I'm saying? So this was around the time of the which album was that? The third album. The third album. I forgot which one was that. Eminem third album, no. And yeah, it was crazy. I remember that first night I went out there. man, I was backstage and I saw that crowd. Yo, man, I got so, man, I ain't even going to front because it wasn't like being at a club or, you know, it was a stadium. Like, I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? So I went backstage and I prayed, you know what I'm saying? I prayed to myself. I said, man, God, this is going to tell me if I'm meant to do this or not. You feel me? Like,
Right.
if I get booed off stage, then, you know, I'm not supposed to be doing this. You feel me? I said,
Right.
if I make it through this, I'm meant to do this hip hop thing for real. You know what I mean? This is
Right.
a test to my greatness. You know what I mean? And man, I went out there, and man, they went crazy, man. They went crazy. I ain't going front. It was dope. I mean, they went crazy for a person that they never heard of before. You feel me? I ain't get booed off, and then when I got off the stage, they were screaming my name. Fuck that. Fuck that. You know what I mean? The whole scheme was my name is FT, fuck that, right? And I come out like literally before Eminem set. So that was dope too to me. You know what I'm saying? I run out on some shit. I'm like, yo, I'm not even supposed to be up here right now, but I don't give a fuck. Throw a fucking beat on. You know what I mean? The beat come
Dope.
on. It was really one of my songs and shit. But the beat come on. Let's just start spitting. Spit the hook, the first verse. It was called "It's Ridiculous." That's what I used to. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Blaze up. I do my thing and then be out. That was the joint that I was rocking, and I rocked that. And then at the end of the first verse, the security come running out, and the crowd go crazy and shit. I throw the mic down. They snatch me up. I'm like wiggling and shit. You feel me? Then the crowd go crazy. They're like, oh shit. So it kind of looked like, you know, it looks like authentic, but really it was set up like that. It was all an act. You know what I'm saying? But the shit was it was dope, man. It was like
Right.
experience. It killed my fear of ever doing any show in front of anybody. You know what I mean? After you perform in front of that many
Absolutely. Yeah.
people, you always, if you're a real artist, you always have a little bit of fear before every show, whether it's one person. Even this today, I was like, damn, I hope this goes well. I hope my camera's right. Hope, you know what I mean? Like just being a human
Right.
being, artist, you want things to go right. You know what I'm saying? But
Absolutely.
yeah, that going the way it did, it gave me strength and confidence as an artist, and it makes me be like, damn, any show come up, I'm with it. If I could do 30,000 and not get booed, and then don't get me wrong, some shows is better than other shows, and sometimes when it comes to a show, you say to yourself, damn, I'm gonna rip this show. This shit gonna be crazy, and it be all right. The crowd ain't giving you the energy that you thought, but or the mic ain't right or something, your voice something. You know what I'm saying? But as long as you get through it, you don't get booed. People always going somebody out there always going to get appreciated. Then there's shows where I felt like, damn, they ain't gonna film me. Like, damn, this shit's like looking crazy. They got all they go crazy. Like, yo, it'd be insane. So you never know. You know what I mean? You just gotta have that
Hey,
confidence and believe in your art. And you win some, you lose some. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Word.
Looking back, what eventually happened to the deal with Stretch Armstrong?
So yeah, man, it's a movie, man. So boom, we start working on an album. You know what I mean? The name of the album was The Curse. You know what I mean? So we signed to Sony. Shout out to Michael Kaplan. You know what I mean? He also found Genuine. You know what I mean? He signed me, and then
What time frame is this about?
oh, this is about 9/8.
Nine
9,
eight.
I'm saying. So I started working on the album. I had a single, you know, in the underground rotation, John F. Hennessy, you know what I'm saying? And we put that out. No, matter of fact, that was later. That was later. I'm bugging. But yeah, the Sony shit was in 9/8. We started working on the album. And I had an independent record out called Effortless. What it looked like. You got to crack what it cooked like. You got to track what's the hook like. Efforts off the hook, right? You know what I mean? That joint was bubbling on the underground. And then we started working on the album. We had Buck Wild, Big KO, this kid named Noodles, this kid named Jeff, Young Lord, and yeah, Stretch did a beat for me, and that's who I worked with like during that album. And who else? What else? What else? What else was popping? Yeah, that's about it as far as the album go. But it got to a point where I almost finished the album, and we in meetings with Sony, and they like, yo, you need a single, this, that, and the third. You know, the whole story of, yo, you got a lot of bangers, but you need a single. You know what I mean? So I was kind of stressed in. I was like, oh, here we go. You know what I mean? But 2 weeks later, I came with a single, boom, a record that was just like strong, you know, commercial. But it was me by myself too. It was called Just Do It, and it was produced by Young Lord. It never got released though. You know what I mean? But what happened? They got excited for that record, and it was like, okay, let's go. We're gonna go with this record. But then, right in motion of that, Michael Kaplan gets fired. You feel me? So once he got fired, you know, the staff changes, and they bringing in their new artists and a whole new situation. So it's like we was caught in limbo. You know what I mean? Because they like, yo, we're gonna put out a couple of other artists. I ain't gonna say their name, but a couple of other artists they signed back then, and then we're gonna, you know, we just gonna keep me on the shelf and keep me working. You know what I mean? So Tru Criminal, I'm complaining to them. They complaining to other labels. They like, I'm like, yo, we got to get out of this shit. Like, what we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So they didn't want to let us go. But shout out to Lee Resnick. He paid a lawyer like $5,000, and the lawyer got us out of it. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, I was really like depressed. I thought my career was over. Like, I'm like, damn, like I just lost my shit. Like, you feel me? But I wasn't that mad because I knew it wasn't me. I knew it wasn't some shit I did. It wasn't my art. It was just some politics shit. You know what I mean? And that's what hurt too, because it's like, damn, son, like y'all fucking up my situation because of politics. You know what I'm saying? This is all I got. You feel what I'm saying? So I was in a depressive state around that time, but it made my lyrics more aggressive when I wrote, because I said, yo, fuck guidelines. You know what I'm saying? Because all they're gonna do is slow me down. Like all these guidelines of, yo, you got to do this, you got to write this way in commercial, and nah, man, that shit burnt me. You know what I mean? So I just got harder with the pen. And then we did another independent record called John F. Hennessy, produced by Alchemist. So when we put that out, it was dope. It was on mad mixtapes, and it was getting a good buzz. You know what I'm saying? So I felt good about that. That brought my spirits back. Even though we ain't have a deal, it was like, all right, we still got something out, and we still bubbling. You know what I'm saying? But then next thing you know, Lee Resnick goes to Cali. You know what I mean? I'm thinking shit is over, underground shit. You know, I'm finally getting over my depression. And he calls me like, yo, guess what? I'm like, what's up? He like, yo, I got us a new deal. I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, nah, I don't want to hear that shit, man. He like, nah, for real, I got us a new deal. He's like, yo, I'm in Cali right now. I just signed a deal with New Line Records. You know, you ever heard of New Line Cinema, the movie?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. He was like, yo, I just signed the deal with New Line Records. I'm like, what? He like, yeah, I just signed you and Cardi. Shout out to my man Cardi, 151 Proof. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what? He like, yeah. And I'm like, yo, what's the budget looking like? Because our last budget was $300,000. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, yo, it's like 225. You know what I'm saying? But he's like, you can get more creative control. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yo, it's just us and them. It's not like all these other labels. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? And they had major distribution from Warner Brothers because they're a movie company. And I was going to be the first rapper on that to come out on that movie company, right? As an artist. So they also had Immature on that label. You know what I'm saying? So next thing you know, we start working on the album. No, matter of fact, yeah, the budget was 225 or whatever. So I asked him, I'm like, yo, how much I'm getting up front? Because I wanted like 50 grand up front. Like 50 grand was a big deal back then. 99, 2000, you know what I'm saying? I wanted like 50 grand up front. Then he was like, nah, I can't give you 50 grand. I can give you 25 up front. So I said, all right, $225,000 budget, $25,000 advance. Boom. And then he like, I got 3 soundtracks lined up, and you're going to make, upfront money from that and publish it from that. So I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. So right out the gate, they put me on the soundtrack of Bones, Snoop Dogg movie.
Right.
horror flick. They put my song, the song Effortless, What It Looked Like. You got crack, what it cooked like. That joint, that was on the movie and it was on the soundtrack. So, you know, right then out the gate, I was like, damn, man, I'm happy, man. We moving in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? And then they put me on more soundtracks. They put me on All About the Benjamin soundtrack. That's with Mike Epps and Ice Cube. We had a song called Money All the Time on there with Little C's and Banger, right? And then they put me on Rush Hour 2 soundtrack. I got a song. This song, John F. Hennessy, was in the Final Destination 2 movie. The movie, you know what I mean? And right in the first 15 minutes, when the dude gets hit by the log, yeah, that was the song that was on the soundtrack. And what other song? I got a song on Elf soundtrack.
Wow.
Yeah, so man, shout out to New Line Records, man. They hooked it up with that. And then, you know, I got upfront money from that and publishing. You know, I wish I knew the business better, though. I would have worked shit out differently, of course, than back then. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it was cool. I still get, my bad, dog.
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying I still get publishing from that shit. You know what I mean? From those joints.